So as if the many box office failures of 2023 weren't enough to create a bad image for Disney, such as The Marvels, Wish, Ant-Man 3, Indiana Jones 5, and that's just a number to really kind of explain right there. But what's interesting about Bob Iger's position as CEO over at Disney is that we know that there is a constant shakeup happening as we speak between multiple board members now, some of which do want him fired. They want him out by 2025, before his 2026 contract end. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, the thing about Bob Iger is that we all know that he has been making one bad call after the other, and it's not looking good for Disney, not this year, and most definitely not for 2025, because we all know that things are not going to start off well, with Snow White being the first big box office failure, so to speak, that will be considered a live-action remake. Now, what's interesting about Bob Iger's overall position as CEO is exactly what he has been doing as a response to the ongoing lawsuit against the state of Florida in a desperate move, heading into pathetic damage control, mind you, to really keep Disney afloat and to spend less and make less. So let's get into all of this, shall we? Now, specifically, we know that Bob Iger is, in my book, worse than Bob Chapek as a CEO. I mean, we all know that Chapek was the fall guy. He was always meant to be the guy that would take all of the fall from Bob Iger and what he did previously, and we all knew that he was semi-retired. Alright, this was all to be expected, that he would come back one day. We just never expected it to be so soon in 2022. However, to top things off, with Bob Iger and the rest over at Disney getting prepared for a series of box office failures in 2025, starting off with Snow White, one major development has to do with Bob Iger initiating the third phase of his cost containment plan that just went active in light of the recent lawsuit Disney has been involved with in the state of Florida. Now, Bob Iger reportedly convinced the board of directors to move forward with a plan to begin firing thousands of employees across the board after the news about their lawsuit has been giving Disney a bad image, with the loss of many Disney Plus subscribers as a result. Now, this is Iger's plan for damage control by spending less and making less. One update to this ongoing development is that Iger is going to begin firing employees connected to many film productions of all divisions over at Disney. This will include Lucasfilm, Marvel Studios, and even Walt Disney Animation Studios, just for starters. Business models like ESPN and Hulu will also meet numerous layoffs from those at Disney in their desperate attempt to keep things afloat in light of the ongoing lawsuit with Florida, giving Disney a bad image that is endlessly turning Disney Plus subscribers away in the meantime. Now, Iger is already beginning to fire those connected to Captain America 4 and the upcoming Avengers films to create Marvel Studios into a smaller scale production studio. This means less crew, and of course less cast in future upcoming projects. Those in the corporate ladder will also be laid off as Disney's response during the ongoing lawsuit with the state of Florida. To make matters worse, this is also going to result in smaller cast and crew members for upcoming Star Wars films as well, under Disney, which reportedly will result in slower production cycles for those upcoming films, which could very well result in delays in the process. The same kind of an impact will be made for the 2025 Marvel films, which could meet a minor delay until later in that year if things keep up at this pace. Disney Plus marketing teams are also getting significantly scaled back as a result of Bob Iger attempting to clean up Disney's image by spending less and making less after receiving endless criticism from both the lawsuit in Florida and the multiple box office failures that they created in 2023 as a result. Now, hundreds of animators, too, will be laid off from various productions from all things Walt Disney Animation Studios, Marvel Studios, and Lucasfilm. This is also to include Pixar. Now, let me just pause here before I get to the big conclusion about what Bob Iger is doing here. So, this is obviously a, reaction-based decision that Bob Iger's making on all of the criticism that Disney has been getting. Not just because of the lawsuit over in Florida, which you guys know exactly what's been going on with that. It's pretty much mainstream at this point. But also, everything that has happened in 2023, from the box office failures, from everything with the closure of the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, and among other issues that Disney has gotten themselves into. So the biggest deal about this is the fact that Bob Iger is making unnecessary calls. I don't think that they necessarily have to fire that amount of employees across the board, whether it's, for the film industry, for television programs, for those up in the corporate ladder, or marketing teams. It doesn't matter. I feel that if you just put out good content and focus less on agenda-driven strategies and everything happening with DEI, you wouldn't have to do this nonsense. That's just reality. If Disney just shaped themselves up, they may just get a chance, and I'm saying maybe. They would maybe get a chance to recover in a couple of years' time. They really have to create a consistent flow of successful film releases or those on Disney Plus. It doesn't matter. If they were to create regular content, they could get themselves out of this, but they're not going to. That's just Bob Iger for you. So the shakeup between the board members is another story. There's been quite a number of board members going at each other and really disagreeing with Bob Iger's approach to a lot of other factors, going into the slow death of Disney that's looming for 2025, by the way. So moving on forward, this is also set to impact any production that needs further reshoots throughout this year that are to be released in next year, of course, for 2025. With marketing teams getting dialed back, this, of course, will also result in far less funds getting poured into many of the productions from all divisions over at Disney, which will result in less exposure at the same time. All of these firings are planned to be a progressive process that will begin in March of this year, starting off with Walt Disney Animation Studios to begin the entire process. So again, like I said earlier, this is all a reaction by Bob Iger based on their image getting completely tarnished with the lawsuit in the state of Florida and the ongoing box office failures one after the other. They're really on that streak, by the way. I mean, the next two could very well possibly be Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3 if they keep up with all this agenda-driven nonsense getting poured into those projects. I'm very confident that, Inside Out 2 is not going to be a big success on Disney's part as long as they stay hold of all of that, DEI nonsense getting poured into that. But interestingly enough, we know that Bob Iger is planning to make another big statement by the second quarter of 2024 about all these cutbacks, about all of these productions becoming a more smaller scale focused strategy. This includes, of course, many of the studios that I mentioned before, like Marvel, Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Animation. It's going to be a different Disney by 2025, I feel. I feel that you're going to have a lot of smaller scale movies in universe, so to speak, where you have less locations, less places to visit in these stories, etc. So guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.